Awesome. Perfect. So hi everyone, and thank you so much again for joining this workshop and for being here this afternoon. So my name is Rémy Bertoli, as Ferriss just introduced me. You can easily follow me on all the social media channel, but I'm mostly active in my LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, not that much in my Medium actually, so I should probably update the icon there. And you can have lots of information about me and like free resources and so on my own website, remybertoli.com. So feel free to have a look later on after this workshop. Who am I as a person? So I consider myself as being really positive and passionate, creative, a travel addict and analytical thinker, and motivated and challenge seeker. And you will see why later on I start to introduce myself with these like pointers. I consider myself being on a mission, so to help individuals, startups, and SMEs to grow their online presence through marketing, communication, and growth strategies. So constant learning is really at the core of everything that I do. It is really essential to keep myself constantly up to date with all the latest trend and keep experimenting with new ways to succeed in my role. And you will see that experimenting is really crucial, especially in growth marketing. So that's going to be the core of today's topic. Just a quick introduction. You will see that today I brand all the workshop and the presentation with Bertoli Digital, which is my own sales agency that I created early last year in 2019. So I basically have a digital marketing agency built for startup, individual, and SME, specialized into Wix website and growth marketing consultancy. But as Sergi explained, nowadays I'm working full-time at Lido Marketing Technology. So this is Finland's fastest growing MarTech company, and we are the lead-driven marketing platform. We have been growing really, really fast since I joined last fall in 2019. It has been super exciting, and there is new like release coming really soon as well. So have a look at Lido if you haven't heard before. It's really, really exciting company, and it's also at the core of marketing and sales. So it's going to cover lots of aspects that I'm going to discuss today. So why is growth marketing the future of marketing? Today's topic. So I wanted to cover during 2 days. So we have 1.5 hours of workshop / presentation. And I hope that I'm not going to be alone just speaking on my side, but I'm going to ask you to actually work as well. And I'm going to try to activate you through some small exercises. But of course, as you probably know already, if you're familiar with the term, growth marketing is quite a broad topic, and it has been evolving and maturing quite big time in the past years, actually. So what we're going to try to cover in this 1.5 hours is first the basic principle and processes of growth marketing. Then why is it important to cultivate a fail fast culture within your organization, but also for yourself with your work. Then I will try to introduce you to some of the latest growth marketing tools and actually some of my favorite day-to-day tools that I'm using, well, almost on a daily basis. Then we will cover a bit how to become a growth marketer for yourself. Is that something of your interest? So I will cover that part. And we will end up with how to build your own checklist to get started with rapid experimentation right after this course, hopefully. So before I jump in, I wanted to actually make a special mention to Columbia Road and Growth Tribe, because they are two companies and agency that have been really pushing me forward towards the growth hacking and growth marketing methodology and mindset. I had the chance in 2018 to attend the Helsinki Growth Hacking Crash Course from Growth Tribe. I will talk a bit more about that later towards the end of the workshop. And I also attended the Growth Hacking Certification by Columbia Road. So they are both really different. So Columbia Road, if you know, is a sales consultancy agency from Helsinki. It's a subsidiary from Futurize, and they specialize into growth hacking and sales consultancy for agency. And Growth Tribe on the other end, they actually provide learning, training online, and they train individual and teams towards implementing actually a growth mindset and the growth marketing process. So I learned a lot from both of them. And because I used some of their material in my presentation, I thought I will make a special mention. So what is growth hacking, or more growth marketing? So you will see that I will mix a bit the term, especially towards the beginning, but you will see that I want to refer only about growth marketing myself, and not too much about the hacking part, the growth hacking term. I really don't like that myself. So I will explain why. But let's start with stories. So Takeru Kobayashi, is there anyone that can put in the chat if they know who that person is? I will probably just wait a few seconds, but I'm pretty sure that nobody knows. Let's see, I will check. Yeah. So Takeru Kobayashi is actually hot dog eater contester, like and you will see that he basically like compete into how much hot dog can he eat as fast as possible across the world. So as you can see here in this really funny GIF, he is like competing against like a over contestant, and you can see that he's like eating hot dog like crazy fast, and everyone is looking like what is happening there? And look at the face of the person next to him. Is like, oh my god, I'm way too slow. What is this person doing? So why am I talking about hot dog eating and growth marketing, right? You will understand a bit later. Actually, I think some slides are mixed up, but anyhow, what you can see here, what you can see here is what growth hacking is not. So you can see, I'm not sure if any of you have any idea what is that, but actually it's like thousands and thousands of different mobile phones stuck up together and connected to some algorithm and app that will automatically click somewhere for you or create fake sign up or fake view or stuff like that. So this is definitely not what growth hacking is. So it's explained here that they make fake rating for mobile apps and stuff like that with 10,000 or more phones. But if I come back to Takeru Kobayashi, so here, as you can see, the thing is, he wanted to like learn how to eat hot dog as fast as possible, but he didn't want to do it by the normal rule. So what he did was actually to dip the bun of the hot dog into a glass of water every time before putting the hot dog down his throat, basically. And what it allowed him to do is to like sleep hot dog way faster than all the other contestants. So I think if I'm correct, I need to still double check this fact, but he's still like the #1 world fastest hot dog contestant in the world. So something to double check, but you will understand a bit better as we move forward. So yeah, this is from Growth Tribe, actually, Growth Tribe introduction, and I really liked the way they put it. But if you want to grow a company today, you better learn how to eat hot dog fast. Then there is Tim Ferriss. So most of you, I'm pretty sure, are familiar with him. He's like a really famous, like a well-known, famous New York Times bestseller. So he's like a book author, and is like more famous for the 4-hour work week. And actually, you will see I have this book here at the college still. So I don't do that much recommendation, but I will definitely recommend to read this book if you have the chance. So it's not directly about growth marketing. It's more like a productivity, like a guru and like lifestyle design, as he put it, but it's really linked to it, and you will see why. So not only he wrote this book, but also the 4-Hour Body, Tools of Titan, the 4-Hour Chef, and more different book. But what is interesting is that he also became national champion in Chinese kickboxing without any prior training. So how is that possible, right? Like, how can you become like champion without any training? So again, you will tell me like, what's the link with growth hacking or growth marketing? We talk about hot dog, now we talk about boxing. So here it say that it wasn't because I was good at punching and kicking, but it seemed too dangerous. He did that on a dare, and he had 4 weeks to prepare. So He had no prior training, and he only did 4 weeks, and he still won. So how is that possible, right? So actually what he did is that he read the rule of the Chinese kickboxing, and he found out 2 different loopholes. So the first one was that weight in were the day before the competition. So he used dehydration technique to basically cheat a bit in which category he will compete against people. And then the second one was there was a technicality in the fine print. So if one combatant fell off the ring, the elevated platform, more than 3 times in one round, he will anyway won by default. So even though he will not won because of the technique or because he's the best, it's like a sort of hack that he will just won by default. So now maybe you start to connect the dot and you don't think that I'm totally crazy and that I mixed up 2 presentations. But the result from Tim Ferriss that he won all his matches through TKO, so technical knockout, and went home national champion, which is something that 99% of the people that train from more than 10 years were unable to do before him. And he did that in 4 weeks. So that's quite crazy when you think about it. And then one more person that I want to refer to. So yes, so that I put here, that's me drinking beer with Sean Ellis. So Sean Ellis is a co-author of Hacking Growth. So also something that I definitely recommend you to check out if you can. And he's actually the one who coined the term growth hacking. So he used it to break out the growth for a company like Dropbox. So most of you, I'm pretty sure you know Dropbox. Also LogMeIn, a bit not that famous in the Northern Europe, but in the US, it's quite a big one. And then Eventbrite, of course, most of you must have signed up through Eventbrite today, and also Lookout. So he is actually the father, like the first one, who created this growth hacking, at least term and methodology. And here I was really a big opportunity with this growth forum, that Columbia Road hosted in 2019, to hear presentation from him directly. And he's also like an amazing person himself. If you have the chance to see one of his keynote or online event, I highly recommend it, because any kind of question you might have, he will answer, and he's like really down to earth. He doesn't think that since he's super famous, he will, take everything from like a higher level. So I really enjoyed talking with him, and I'm pretty sure that if you want to send him tweet or any LinkedIn message, he will answer you, because he's really, really close to everyone and willing to help. So that was awesome. So all of that for what? Let's start to go a bit closer to the topic. So how did Sean Ellis, so the founder of growth hacking, defined growth hacking? So he actually said that this is a sustainable growth approach used by hypergrowth company like Facebook, Airbnb, or Amazon. So just to put you in the right direction. And how does he define a growth hacker? He thinks that's a person whose true north is growth. So everything they do is basically scrutinized and led by its potential impact on scalable growth. So now you're thinking like, okay, that's a bit abstract, that's really high level. So let's think about growth marketing in all of that, like overall. So here you can see that there will be like different levels. There will be the mindset, the objective, the composition of the team, and the process. So we'll try to cover that like one by one through the slide. But in this section, so the one that say marketing, that's a traditional marketing way to do things. You think about the next campaign that you will do, for example, on social media, on a selected media, digital advertising, outdoor advertising. Your objective will be something like, well, awareness or acquisition. The composition of your team in a traditional marketing team would most likely be, well, marketer, marketing specialist, marketing manager, CMO, VP of marketing. And the process is basically you plan your campaign, you create a campaign, you execute it, or you schedule it, and then you check maybe some metrics to see how it went. I will not focus too much on the product one, but what's the difference with the growth section? The main difference is at the mindset level, first of all. So instead of thinking about campaign, you will start thinking about experiment. So instead of thinking your next campaign for Facebook or Twitter, you will think about what would be our next experiment with our product or with our website or anything that you can come up with. Like with your business cards. You can experiment with pretty much anything, and you will see that it can have a pretty big impact. We'll go through some simple example soon. Then there will be objectives. So obviously it's way more than awareness and acquisition. I'm not sure how many of you are marketers in today's audience. Maybe while I continue speaking, you can put in the chat, are you yourself marketers? Or are you from sales, or are you startup owner, or like just for me to know which angle I will take as we move forward, because there is lots of different things that we can discuss about. Marketer, yeah, okay. I will continue to check it, but apparently most of you are marketers, so I will go with that direction. But so as you know, there is way more than the awareness and the acquisition stages. There is like actually, depending on which funnel you're using, there can be acquisition, activation, retention, revenue, referral. You can have also like advocacy. You can have like way more stages. So you will also have way more objective when you have a growth marketing process and mindset rather than a traditional marketing mindset and process. Then the team composition. So we'll go through that also a bit later, more in depth. But instead of having only like marketing specialists, marketers, CMO, and so on, you will need to have a really multidisciplinary team member. So obviously you will need to start with having your marketing designer, but also a marketing developer. Then you will need to have a content producer, so a content specialist. Then you can define, depending on your business and depending on what you're selling, if you're selling a product or a service, you might want to have someone specialized in conversion rate optimizations, or a CRO specialist. You might want to have someone specialized in SEO, so a search engine optimization specialist. So it will be going into like a multidisciplinary team rather than having everyone that is good at almost everything but not really specialized in anything. So we'll talk about that a bit later also, on how to become a growth marketer yourself. And then about the process. So the process, we'll cover that after this slide, if I remember correctly. So one big differentiator also between traditional marketing that you can see on the left side of the screen, so the pink reddish bubble, that's a budget. So on the right side, the blue different bubble, that's a growth marketing budget. So as you can see, the main difference is that with a traditional marketing approach, from the start to the end of your campaign, you will just use the same exact budget. So let's say that the team lead or like the supervisor would say, okay, this month you have €5,000 budget, and you know that you have two campaigns, so you will decide, maybe I'm going to split 50-50. So I'm going to use €2,500 on my first campaign and €2,500 on the second campaign. So that's exactly what it shows here on the left side with traditional marketing. Whereas with the growth marketing budget and the experiment mindset, you will do it in iterative learning way. So let's say that your budget is, your campaign is 3 weeks, or your experiment is like 3 weeks long. So you would just start with the first 3 to 5 days with like a test budget. So you will put €200 to €500 so that you will test, for example, the target audience, or like the copy text, or the design of your ad, if it's an ad that we're talking about, for example. And then depending on the winning version, you will start to create the second iteration of your campaign for like 2 to 4 days again. And then when you see which one works the best, you start to grow the budget. So you will put a bit more, so 500 to 600. And then at the end, you put the biggest budget to the winning version, and you keep it longer. So you will start first with a few days of different variation of your campaign or experiment. Then you keep only the winning version, and you put most of the budget there. So instead of the traditional way to, you allocated X budget, let's say €1,000, and you put the whole €1,000 from start to end, you will basically segment your budget into smaller chunks, and you keep the bigger chunks for the end, for the winning version of your experiment. So I hope that makes sense and that start to come all together. But you will see that there is so much different direction and so much different ways to get started with growth marketing that for now it might still look a bit abstract and confused, but the more we'll go into the process, the more it will become clarified, hopefully. Yes, little of everything too, making sense. Exactly. So what does it say here? Here you have a list of different company, quite big one, Google, P&G, Amazon, Netflix, Facebook, and you have numbers below them. Can anyone guess what those numbers are? What do they represent? You can put it in the chat, by the way, yeah. Nobody? Maybe I'm talking too much. Okay, so actually these numbers, they represent the number of experiments that all these companies are making per year. So you can see that that's quite crazy. Facebook is making more than 100,000 experiments. Netflix is making 1,000 experiments. Amazon is making 2,000 experiments. Google is making 7,000 experiments. So of course, it depends a lot on the size of each experiment. But this one quote that I actually took also from Growth Tribe, from Jeff Bezos, from Amazon, he says that our success at Amazon is a function of how many experiments we do per year, per month, per week, but also per day. That's quite crazy. And something that is super, super important is being wrong might hurt you a bit, but being slow will definitely kill you. And that's really, really important. That at the core of everything around growth marketing, growth hacking, if you prefer. But this is really important. You need to be fast. You need to be able to experiment. You need to fail. We will come back to that. But really remember this quote, because that's one of the most important thing when it comes to growth experiment. So one concrete example now to start to be a bit more down to earth. Dropbox, most of you are familiar with it. I'm pretty sure that every one of you have had an account, at least in the past, storing some files, some picture, anything like that. What did they do a couple of years back? I think it was even like 5 years ago, even more. When they launched, they gave free accounts to everyone, but the amount of storage that you have will be limited, and it will be quite limited actually. But every time that you will refer a friend to get started with a free account, you will get actually 500 megabyte extra, and then it will increase your storage. So everyone, and me the first, I remember really clearly that I was sending invitation to everyone that I know of, and like all of my friends, so that I could store more picture of my travel, that I could store more documents and so on. You just send basically email, and as soon as they open and create the account, in 2 clicks, you receive free storage. And doing that, they started to have like a really big growth and like virality of new user of the platform. So that's definitely one successful experiment that they did. But before coming up with this experiment, they must have gone through a lot of different experiments that have failed. So that's something that we will check also later on. You cannot expect to do like 1 experiment, 2 experiments, 10 experiments, and see them succeed right away. You need to experiment a lot to come up with one small win. But when you will get that one small win, you will start to experiment according to what makes this experiment successful, and you will start to improve. So we'll talk about that even more during the process part. But here is another concrete example. So Dropbox was for digital service, and how can you do that online? But here, that's an example from a car wash company that give away stamped cards. You know, this kind of like loyalty card. You have them sometime in a restaurant or hairdresser or any service really, or even like grocery store. Sometimes they give you stamp every time you spend more than, let's say, 20 euro, you get 1 stamp or something like that. So that's something really funny. And you will see that behavioral psychology is really, really important for growth marketer, because if you see clearly here, you have exactly the same number of unstamped like slot. But if you add 2 extra stamp that are pre-stamped, they saw that there was 178% more more business, like repetition after using this pre-stamped card compared to when they gave the unstamped card. So how can you explain that? It's just a psychological effect, basically. When you give away a card with pre-made stamp, you think like, oh, I already have 2 stamps, so I'm already getting there. I'm already starting, so I will continue to do it. I really want to have it full. Whereas when you have it like fully empty, you will think, well, it's fully empty. I don't really mind. It's just a few. I'm just going to get a free meal or free car wash at the end. So it's not worth it. But actually, you can see that this small trick, adding the 2 pre-stamped, make a really big impact for them. And again, they might have tried million of stuff before that. Maybe they changed the color. Maybe they changed the design. Maybe they offer like a free like keyring or like a free like upgrade for a deluxe wash or whatever, but it doesn't matter. At least after X experiment, they come up with this one that made a big impact for their revenue and in the long term. So that's like different type of growth experiment that you can do. In short, if I try to summarize now everything that we've came across in the past 20 minutes or so, growth marketing, what is it? So it's basically data-driven business growth based on rapid experimentation. How does it work? You need to mix behavioral psychology, creative marketing, coding and automation, and also data and testing. So as you can see here on the right side, you have all different kind of like circles. And if you check lean marketing, UX, technical marketing, conversion rate optimization at the center of all of that, and you also have coding and automation, of course, that's what is growth marketing. That's what is at the center of all of these different tools and different knowledge that you need to have in order to do growth experiment. So there is a lot, as you can see. There's definitely a lot to cover. But why, sorry, yeah, my slides are going too fast. Yeah, why did I started with this hot dog story and Tim Ferriss and the boxing loophole and like how can he cheat to win actually the championship and so on. So I started with that because media, but people as well, don't care about announcement or anything like that when it comes to a company announcement, a product release. They want stories. Everyone wants stories. That's how we are as human beings, and everyone prefer hearing stories rather than just hearing like slide after slide or like me just telling you this is a definition, this is a process. So that's a really important skill that is too often underrated, and you will see that in your growth marketing team you definitely need to have really good copywriters and copywriting skills to create amazing content. But that will depend on your brand, of course, depending on what your brand is about. Do you have like a more professional brand? Do you have like a more humane and edgy and bold brand? So we'll talk about that a bit later. But that's why I wanted to start with this more like funny and a bit more abstract story, so that you can start in your head to remember, oh, there was this hot dog guy, he actually dipped the bun in the water, it allowed him to swallow the hot dog faster. Then there was a boxing Tim Ferriss, he won all the matches because he actually read the small line that nobody usually read, and he found out that actually it's not forbidden to push people out of the ring. It's not forbidden to dehydrate before the waiting. So the idea is not to find way to cheat, but it's to find way to sometime be different, stop copying what others are doing, stop doing the traditional way of doing stuff, but experimenting with new way of doing your daily operation. But now let's go a bit more into the basic principle, because I cover really quickly and also a bit in an abstract manner what growth marketing is. But now I will stick to the principle and the processes. So the first one, I took it from Columbia Road. So how they define a growth marketing process is to first start with identifying growth opportunities. So you will have different business objectives in your companies. And from this business objective, you will start to think, okay, what kind of opportunity do we have at the moment with our product or services? So then you will start to think, okay, maybe we need to create a new feature for our product, a new feature that our existing client have been requiring for like the past 2 weeks, or we receive lots of requests in our ticket system. So that's something that we're going to try. And then you will start maybe a 1 or 2 weeks growth sprint. So you can see that there is like arrows that go like this, and it just repeat and repeat and repeat. So this is like a sprint. And during this sprint, you will test your new growth opportunity. So you will need your developer to implement this new product feature, your designer to create a new release of this feature into a newsletter, your copywriter to create a new copy text for this email campaign that you're going to send to your existing client, and so on. And then at the end of this 1 or 2 weeks period, when you have finished to execute all of that, you will actually analyze it, see did it work or did it fail. So that's the kill and learn. So if it failed, you kill it, you just drop it. Okay, it failed, let's just learn from it. But if it succeeds, then you scale it and you automate it. So of course, not all of your growth experiments are scalable, but you will see that when you come up with different experiments, you will want to actually prioritize them by how doable they are. Is it easy to implement or is it hard? How scalable they are, and how big of an impact it can create for your business in the short to long to medium term. So that's also something that is important. But as you can see in the bottom part, the growth opportunities identifying, it takes days to week. It doesn't happen into a one brainstorming session with your sales director and the CMO and the CEO and so on. It will take day to weeks of thinking about your business model, the value proposition, the product market fit, your different buyer persona, and so on. We'll go through that. And after that, when you start to do the growth sprint and experimenting 1 to 2 weeks ideas, you will find traction. You will start to find what works, what doesn't. You will start to learn from the data that you start gathering. And this will take weeks to months. And when you start to do that for a month, you will start to do continuous growth marketing at scale. So that's month to years. And that's where you start to have enough data to draw insights that allow you to have more sustainable impact. And when you have that stage, the insight can go back to your business objective, and you can define your company KPIs based on that. So that's the first process. I'm not going to go in more details of that, because you will see I'm going to go through 3 different processes, and there is still quite a lot to cover. So the second one, it's actually from Sean Ellis himself. So during the Growth Forum 2019, hosted by Columbia Road, again. So in this one, Sean Ellis said that the growth testing process, it's a scientific continuous improvement and learning process, and there is 5 main stages. So the first one, you analyze to find high leverage objective. What is the biggest objective that you can leverage in your company? Then you will ideate around these specific objectives that you really want to improve. What kind of new ideas, what kind of new experiment, product feature, service changes you can do in order to improve or go toward this objective in a more efficient way. After that, you will have a list, so a backlog of different ID and experiment. So you need to prioritize them. You will prioritize them with different scoring methods and scoring system, so that you can say, okay, well, this one is easier to execute, but it have a lower impact in the long term. So maybe it's not on the top. This one is actually way too hard to execute, but it have like amazing impact in the long term, but it's too hard to execute right now. So maybe it's not in the top. So maybe the one who are on the top are the ones that have the right balance. Well, of course, it's not always the right balance, but more or less between being not too hard and not too easy to implement, but having like a great impact that you can leverage in the short to medium term for your company. And then after that, you test it. So once you execute it, you test how it goes. Does it impact the objective as you planned? So did you thought that it will increase by X% your number of signups? Did you thought that it will decrease your churn rate? And you will see did it work or not? And after that, you repeat from the start. You analyze, you ideate, you prioritize, you test, and you repeat, and it's a circle. And you go on and on and on. Always this objective. Unless you will find a new objective, then you will start again. But that's how it goes with the growth testing process. And then there is a third one. So this one is from Growth Tribe. This one, start with your own funnel. We'll go into detail about that. So it's like called pirate funnel, and you will see why a bit later on. Then you need to understand your user. Obviously, you need to know who they are, who is your ideal customer profile, who are your different buyer persona and different segment, where do they gather information, where do they spend most of their time, which social media channel, maybe not even social media at all, etc. And once you have that, you start gathering ideas. Then again, you rank these ideas, then you will outline some tests, experiment, then you will work with those experiments, then you will analyze and study the outcome, and again, you repeat, and you repeat, and you repeat. And as you can see, at the center of all of that, you have one metric that you always keep in your mind. So it's actually called the OMTM, the one metric that matter, or like the North Star, depending on who talk about that, depending on the growth marketer. But basically, this one metric is really, really important because that should be the one metric that can have the biggest leverage and the biggest impact, sustainable impact for your company. So if you just think about, oh, I'm going to increase the number of followers on my Twitter account thanks to this experiment, that's not necessary. That's not really your OMTM or your main metric, because how can you decide that this increase in follower will go towards increase in revenue or increase of sales? Because most likely at the end of the day, what you're looking at is to increase revenue, increase like sales, or decrease the churn, increase volume, and so on. So you need to really define the one metrics that can have the biggest impact and that makes sense with most of your experiment. So we'll go toward that also a bit later on. But if I try to summarize from these three different models that we saw, so really see like taken to the bare bone, to the strict minimum, you need to remember at least 5 steps. So the first one, you analyze. The second one, you ideate. Once you have a backlog of different ideas and experiment, you prioritize them, then you test some of them, and at the end, you repeat. So that's basically how it goes, with 5 steps. But how would that go? The test part, you will see that some fail, some succeed. At the beginning, 95%, if not more, will fail. So that's why also the second part is called, why is it important to cultivate a fail fast culture? So we'll talk a bit more about that. 5% only succeed. And then when you continue, when you repeat, you see that it starts to change the balance. 10% succeed, 90% fails, and you get it. 50% succeed, 80%, 85% fail, and so on and so on. So it doesn't sound that hard, right? Or does it? I'm not sure. I'm not sure how you feel now, or do you feel overwhelmed already? But not too fast. So even though maybe I summarize it into this 5 step, you cannot jump in just right away. It's not possible. You need to have prerequisite and strong foundation before you start with the growth process. So how does it work? Before you actually jump into the growth process, you need to have your foundation. So they need to be ready and they need to be strong. Otherwise, you're basically gonna get lost, or you're gonna measure something wrong, or you will not be able to follow in the long term. How did it affect, which experiment affected the most, or which was the most efficient? So the way to get started is first to know your value proposition. That's the first and most important thing. If your company, if your startup doesn't know that yet, that's the first thing you need to focus on. The second one is about your business model. Do you have your business model Canva all done and figured out entirely? And I don't mean just filling up the Canva in your PDF or somewhere in Google Drive. You need to really think about it with different competencies. So sales team can have a look at it, marketing team can have a look at it, management team can have a look at it, customer success might have a look at it, your tech team, product development, if you're like a software or SaaS company, might have a look at it. And I will never say it enough, but it's super important to break the silos in your company, because if you just think about marketing is doing marketing, sales is doing sales, product development is doing product development. It does not work. It's super important that you communicate in between each of the team and that you make sure that the communication flow both ways. So marketing communicate about what they're working on to the rest of the teams, so sales and customer success and technical team and so on. But it goes the same way, the other way around. So once you have this business model and value proposition done, then you need to really know about your audience. And that's where most of the people fail. Everyone thinks that, well, I know that I'm a software company and I sell to CTO and sales director between 35 to 50 years old. But that's not enough. You need to know psychographic persona more in detail. Exactly where do they spend their time online, at what time, which type of media, which social media channel, which kind of like tone of voice do they prefer. Maybe you can even go deeper with like which kind of brand do they respond the most. Then how can you segment them in different segments? And as long as you don't have them written down in some proper documentation, they don't exist. If someone tell you in your company, yeah, we know about that already, we know about it, we don't need to have them, that's not true. Really fight for that. You need to have them somewhere, like even print them and put them in your wall somewhere in your office or but this is really, really important. That's the foundation for everything when it comes to the growth process and growth marketing. Once you have done that, we go about OMTM. What is your OMTM? So that's what I discussed really briefly earlier, the one metric that matter. And once you have all of that, you should by now have your product market fit. So when we think about startups, some want to straight away do growth experiment and do growth marketing and so on. But if you didn't find yet your product market fit, sorry, it's basically in vain. It doesn't make sense to do it yet. So you need to first do all of the steps above, have your product market fit, and then you can get started. And that's where you get started with your pirate funnel and your funnel in general. So now let's go quickly. I've been talking for almost 1 hour already, and I didn't give you too much exercise. So there will be workshop coming now. But first, because I'm not sure if all of you are familiar with all of that, with the value prop, business model, psychographic, let's go quite quickly through all of them, and then let's start with some workshop on your side, with some exercise to put up into practice. So just again, this graph that I took from Growth Tribe, I really like it because it takes time. As you can see, I said that it was easy, it looks easy peasy, right? You have only 5 steps and so on, but it will take time. The most important is to not get scared, not to wait to have it perfect. Just have your strong foundation and then get started. Don't wait until it's going to be all perfect. If you wait, first of all, it's never going to be perfect and you will never learn. So it's actually really good if you fail a lot at the beginning, because you're going to learn so much. That's going to be the most valuable experiment that you can ever do. And from this different failure, you will start experimenting and grow on it. So as you can see, first it's going to be inconclusive, failing, then you're getting better at this. Then suddenly, like, holy shit, that was worth it. You have like a really big success. But then again, it go back to, again, it's slow. But now you start to know about like how to take more risk. You start to understand how it works in the process. And then it starts to slowly increase with strong compound growth and strong growth. So that's how it will work over time. So the ROI is not instant. So I always laugh when someone tell me that growth hacking is just a succession of like different hack, and it's just shortcut. And it's just like, hey, can you give me some hack for my social media campaign and so on. So yes, there is different small hacks that you can do. For example, with like putting the link in the comment on LinkedIn, if you know, or like copy pasting a link in the comment and putting it in your post so that the algorithm thinks that it's not an external link, so you have a better reach and so on. So some might totally know what I'm talking about. Some might think I'm talking different language now. But just to explain that, yes, there is a really small part that is this kind of hack and shortcut, but most of it, if not like all of it, it's actually taking time, and it's just following a systematic process that will have compound growth and that will increase ROI over time. So it's not possible to get started today and not to have amazing growth 2 or 3 months down the line. It's going to take time. But now that you know that, value proposition. So you have this kind of Canva, and I will leave it to you to just Google it online. You can find like millions of different resources. You might have your own already, but it's important that you have something already figured out. So what is the benefit of your product or service? What are the experiences, the different features, and how does the customer react to that? What do they want? What are their needs? And what kind of fears do they have towards this kind of product or services? How can you substitute this kind of product or services? Then you have the business model. Who are the key partners? What are the key activities? What are your key resources? The value proposition is there already, but like, what value do we deliver to the customer? Which one of your customer problem you are trying to solve or helping to solve? What kind of bundle into product or service you are trying to offer to each of your customer segments, because we talked about the buyer persona and the different segment that we are trying to target. How can you build relationship with your customer? What type of relationship each of your customer segment should have and you should try to maintain? Is it going to be the same relationship with all of your different segments? Should it be a different one? What kind of channel are you already operating in? What kind of new channel you want to start experimenting with? Etc., etc., etc. Your cost structure, really important, your revenue stream. So again, this is like a really basic business model Canva, but it's super, super important and strong foundation. Then this one, I didn't find that much online. So I took the one from Growth Tribe again. So that's the OMTM Canva. So as I explained, the one metrics that matter. So it's a single like metrics number that you should care the most about in the current stage of your company. So you keep in mind that this is the metrics that can of course change when your company will grow, but at least at the beginning, when you get started, don't change it every week or every experiment, otherwise it doesn't make any sense. So for example, here, as you can see, this company in the example, they ask, okay, our metrics that matter is a number of monthly new sales qualified lead that we get. So per month, how many new sales qualified lead we get. And according to that, all the experiments that we'll do, new product feature, new social media campaign, new blog post release, trying outdoor campaign, whatever, changing design, it will be just checking the baseline metric, 5 per month, and the target metric. You think that thanks to the change, you're going to increase it by 2, 5, 10, etc. And what was the result? And then you can find what is your target, what is the indicator, and you will analyze after experiment. Pirate funnel, so it's quite heavy. So we'll just go quickly through it. But again, I saw in the chat that most of you are marketeers, so you are mostly acquaintance with like most of the marketing funnel. So it's just a different funnel that try to put into more detailed stage, in more detailed stage for your users, visitor, and customer journey. So the first one would be the awareness, for example, visit on your website. The second one will be acquisition, the number of sign up, finding your product, reading a piece of information online. Then the activation part, the experience that you give to your users, what kind of value do they get out of it? Then the retention part, how do you actually retain them? Do they use your service, or do they go to your platform daily, weekly, monthly, or once and never? Then the referral, once they become your customer, how can you make them become an advocate? How can they actually invite others? Now try to think again about the experiment that Dropbox did with their email sign up to give you more storage, for example. That's definitely a referral campaign for them, that at the same time give them more acquisition because they get more sign up. So that's awesome. They can do two at the same time, which is rare. Usually I always advise to focus on one stage at a time. Everyone focus on one stage at a time. Then you have the revenue stage. I can't see too much. Yeah. So about the pricing, do you cross sell or upsell and so on. So that's how the pirate funnel is defined. But I'm pretty sure that all of you have already a different funnel in use. So that can do as well. But now that I've talked exactly for 1 hour, let's take time for the first exercise and the first workshop. So I will ask you now to go to this link, which is upspot.com/make my persona. So I will try to make it easier for you, and I will copy paste it in the chat. I think it will work better. Let me see. Just a second. Yes. Okay, no, I need to put it as a link. Yes, so just I will paste it again. Yeah, here you go. So what it will do, if you still see my screen, it will show you this online tool, and it will ask you to build your first persona. So you will just click into build my persona, and then you will be guided in a step-by-step about naming it while choosing like a representation, how old are they, what is the highest degree that they have, etc. And it's really important because, as I mentioned, you need to get started by knowing your value proposition, your business model, and who is your audience. So because we have a limited amount of time today, and because it's also more heavy, I'm not gonna ask you to do now on the fly the value prop or the business model, because you will require way more time and way more like headspace to do it. But definitely in 10 minutes, and I'm also a bit challenging you now, try to think about the current company you're working in, or try to think about your own startup or your own project. Who is your main audience? And I will give you two examples before putting the timer. So the first example is for Salesforce. So Salesforce, we have Fred, 31 years old. He's a sales commercial manager, 50 plus company. What is his personality? Is outgoing, extrovert, critical. He doesn't really like changes. What are his need and goals? So he wants to organize leads, make work easier, increase conversion, because he's a sales and commercial manager. So that's his main target at his company. Offline and online, he go to Reddit, LinkedIn, and Grant Cardone, for example. And his behavior is to trouble searching for lead in his CRM, scoring the lead by hand. Well, like that's awful when you think about it. I'm not so sure how many people still do that. And email his team for information. So for example, you can already see that this is someone that they're trying to target as one of their segment and their persona. So about you, think about how can you create a fictional profile that represents a brand audience, developing the persona that will basically that will help you to ideate and have data about the different relationships that you can create for your audience. So if you have additional questions, please put them in the chat, or even now you can unmute yourself and let me know. But otherwise, I will put a timer for 10 minutes, and I will now challenge you to have at least one persona done by the end of the timer. Does that make sense? Is it okay with you?
Sounds good.
Cheers for whoever answered. Let's do that. Yes. Okay, perfect. Thank you guys for the feedback. So let's start. I will now be quiet for a while so you can focus on the exercise. How are you guys doing? Is it advancing? Is it easy? Is it hard? I have to say it's quite different from the usual workshop that I used to do, because when we are face to face, it's way easier to get the feel of the audience, know when to speed up, know when to slow down. I can go around and help people at different table and so on. Okay, cool. Takes a bit more time. Yeah. You still have 4 minutes left, at least for this exercise, but just wanted to check halfway through if you had a question and if it was clear, at least for this exercise. Mm, okay, interesting. Maybe I will be interested in doing the Q&A, so a bit later on with Amir01. You said that you have done that before, but the output version is not directly relevant. So let's talk about that a bit later on. But yeah, you're right. It's also like a really basic version, and because I couldn't print out some like more advanced Canva and give them to you, I thought that this one was the easiest version to do it online as an exercise, and you can continue later on. But yeah, it's a bit more simplified, definitely. If you have your own Canva for the buyer persona, definitely use a more advanced one. You're totally right. But at least to get started, it's a really good one already. Anyway, I'll leave you the 3 last minutes in peace to finalize your persona, and then we can continue. Mm. Really interesting to discuss that a bit more, Amir, about the fact that you focus the participant in the wrong way during your mentoring. Yeah. Yeah. And if you close your browser, hopefully actually this tool should save all your progress. So if you have done your first persona, now if we are towards the end of the time, there is 30 seconds left. But I encourage you to just go to the last step. They ask you your email, of course, so that you can receive the copy of your persona by email, and that they will most likely put you in their newsletter, sorry. But please now finalize what you're doing and come back to the Zoom, because we'll start to move toward the third part, which is why it's important to cultivate a fail fast culture, so that we still have time for the Q&A. And there seems to be quite a lot of interesting discussion or question for the end. So let's make sure that we have some time for that. And yeah, so I would assume that by now you have finalized your, yeah. Well, you can start again later on, hopefully. But yeah, so let's continue. So that was the first workshop. Now that we went through in the past hour or so all the different process and the way to do growth marketing, how to actually get started. so there is this growth marketing pyramid that is really important. And as you can see at the bottom, the most important and the biggest part is the mindset. And this really, we need to repeat it a million times, if not more. But the organizational change, the transformation come from the mindset alignment with everyone in your team. So not only yourself, but obviously the growth manager or the growth marketing team lead need to be the one to set the right direction and mindset. But everyone from your management team, leadership team need to be aligned to understand how to work through these processes, because otherwise you're going to be faced with roadblock in terms of budget, time, resources, or even just accepting to do the experiment because this is not going to be perfect. This might fail and this might give the wrong image and so on. So the most important, the first step, once you have done all of the previous that I've showed, is to switch the right mindset from a traditional mindset to the growth mindset. Then obviously about the processes. So most of the people have been talking about having an agile process, lean and agile process. But nowadays we talk more about this experimentation and growth process. So only once you have the right mindset, you go towards one of the process that I've presented earlier. Then obviously having the right people in your team, the team composition, having the right skills, being able to experiment with your design, content, tech, but also in the strategy level. And once you have all of that, you can start with your tactic. So how do you implement it? What kind of tool you're going to use? What are the best practice? How do you execute it, and so on? But what happens most of the time is people get excited or they focus too much on the hack. As I said, that's why I hate talking about growth hack or growth hacking purely. I don't hate the term necessarily, but I prefer talking about growth marketing because it's more on the long term and you have all this systematic way to apply it. You have all these different steps and foundation that you need to really figure out before jumping in. And even though you would have this foundation really strong and figured out, you still need to switch the mindset, implement the process, have the right people, and then strategize and have the tactics. So as you can see, there is quite a lot to go through, but the most important is just to get started at the beginning so that you will actually end up doing it in few months and you will be in your own grow process. But now moving on to the third part, that was why is it important to cultivate a fail fast culture? So hopefully by now you already got the answer even before I need to present it. But because of the mindset, first of all, it's important that everyone in the company understand that it is okay to fail, and you shouldn't be worried about, oh, my experiment is going to fail, so I shouldn't push it out, I shouldn't publish it. So everything is about speed. Nowadays, when you think about it, I don't have the up-to-date number, but at least according to last year 2019 study, everyone in Europe see around 2,500 ads per day. So it's all about being able to differentiate, and it's about being able to implement something fast in order to be at the forefront and the top of mind. Otherwise, if you wait to have the perfect product, perfect service, perfect campaign, it's never going to happen, and you're going to be too late. Other competitors are going to kill you because they are already failing, experimenting, and finding new ways that work better. But why is it so important? So definitely because of the mindset, but most projects focus heavily on the product, whereas the real challenge is actually with the distribution. So that's actually what I mean. If you have an amazing product, but nobody knows about it, nobody knows about your brand, you're not vocal, you have a really bad follow account on social media, you don't do any advertising, you can get your product distributed. Nobody's going to use it, nobody know about it. So it's super important that you have a really good brand. It's really important that you have a really good website that is optimized for SEO, that you actually appear on the search engine, that you have a right ad for the right audience, that you actually experiment, because sometimes you might be surprised that the product was built for audience A, but actually audience B wants it even more or also use it. So that's also why it is super important, because through the failure, through the different fail fast experiment, you will learn new stuff and you will be able to focus on different aspects rather than just the service or the product itself. Then traditional marketing channel, which are outdoor advertising, Facebook advertising, etc. They are increasingly expensive and saturated. Nowadays, we're talking about daily change of algorithm, and someone said in the chat already earlier, they actually noticed that their Facebook design just changed, that sometimes it crashes, sometimes there is like lots of bugs and so on. But also more and more businesses are using this traditional media channel, marketing channel, with even bigger budgets than you probably, because bigger companies, they just throw budget because they can't afford it. And as you must know, as a marketer, most of the different advertising channels, they use bidding strategy. So it's the one that would put a more budget that will be visible to most of the audience. So you will compete against other. Thus why it's super important to not only try to copy what the competition is doing, but to really try to find a new way to approach the situation, approach your target audience, experiment with something totally new, surprise them, so that with even lower budget or even sometimes no budget at all, organically, you will be able to actually reach the audience and make an impact in your company. The third one, that new channel are popping up exponentially. So I don't even have like example right now, but it's I wouldn't even say that TikTok is new anymore, but still there is so much people and companies that are not there yet, that don't use it, and it is growing exponentially day after day. I was just the other time using VPN, so that to get my IP address connected from UK to just watch a series actually. And during the ad section, I saw that TikTok is doing advertisement on online streaming platform for user to create TikTok account actually, and we don't have that in Finland. At least I've never seen that. So they're really growing super fast at the moment. So it's, for example, one of the channel where you could try to go and experiment with. Then acquisition is trivial, activation and retention are crucial. So that's why it's super important to cultivate like a really fast experimentation mindset, but also like that you can fail. You can allow yourself to fail. You can just experiment something. It doesn't matter if it's not perfect. It doesn't matter if it's not going to be successful all the time, because you need to have the speed. You need to make sure that you also focus on the retention and the activation part. And then if you try to summarize, you have available tools, but you might or might not have the data, or if you have the data, you don't know how to read it and how to use it. So the data literacy is really important as well. So it's all about the return on investment that you can have and the speed. It's all about that, ROI and speed. So why also, once we have all of that, failing fast culture experiment, why you should level up all your argument with data, so that there is no place for subjectivity at all. So that, for example, if you discuss with your supervisor or someone else in your team that tell you, oh, maybe I don't think it's a good idea to do that, you can actually show them data and say, well, actually, I also thought it was not a good idea, but the data shows that it's working, so let's do it. And it's also end user focused. It's not focused on the company itself or on the internal team. It's focused on the actual end user. So that's super important. That's what we should take into account way more than our own opinion, more than when the tech team think is going to be the best. Your customer, your actual existing user should be taken into account as much as possible. And then I put like, can't strike through, less likely to get it wrong. Of course, it's impossible to not get it wrong at all, but at least it will be way lower threshold to get it wrong once you start to level all your argument and all your experiment with data. And of course, at the beginning, you will not have enough data, or you will be not sure how to use the data. So you will just gather it and then see how it goes. Then you can optimize your design, increase conversion, or any other set of goal thanks to the data that you gathered. And it's also because it's a scientific approach to rapid experimentation. You fail fast, but you fail also smart, because if you just fail and fail and fail, but you didn't measure any data at all, then you're going to keep failing and you will not understand why do you keep failing, or why was it worth it that you failed. But if you in advance knew that this experiment, I think that I'm expecting this much increase, this much change, or whatever is it. You will just write it down in your growth backlog, and then you see the outcome. Then you can actually analyze it, see why did it fail, why did it succeed, and then ideate and repeat from there on. So that's why they are both linked. Failing fast, yes. Leveling on data, so then you can also fail smart and not just fast. But fast and smart is the best combination that you can do in growth marketing. So that was a really short third part because we have not that much time before the Q&A. So I will, I'm sorry about that, but if needed, I will get this 10 minutes extra that I missed at the beginning because of technical issue. But now, really quickly, I will introduce you to some of my favorite tools. And there is tons of interesting tools out there. So it's actually a really old screenshot, so sorry about that. But all the tools don't need to be necessarily like online SaaS product or software or this kind of thing. But it can also be, as you can see, sorry, in the bottom right corner, physical tools. So that can be this little character. I remember it's actually a workshop that I did. I think it's a shortcut, if I'm correct, with a service designer. So we did this small character, and we needed to create a scenario, but like with paper figures, of how can we improve a product or an app. What kind of different customer journey can we create with this little character and a speech bubble? So we actually recreated all the customer journey step by step with sort of character into like a story. And it was really useful because you might think it's just a game or it's a loss of time, but it makes you think in a different way. And you will see in the next section, like the second to last, that in order to be a growth marketer, a growth team leader, it's really important to have the right balance between creativity, analytic thinking, content skills. There is like a mix of all different kind of skills. So it's sometimes good to change your tools and not just be with online tools. It can make you think in a different way, trigger a different area in your brain, and like it will allow you to find out new approach for your experiment, for example. But otherwise, there is millions of tools out there nowadays, so that's actually quite crazy. But what is good is that some tools are nowadays sectorized, or like how can I say, categorized? Yeah, exactly, categorized by stages. So are you trying to reach? Are you trying to engage? Are you trying to convert? Are you trying to activate? And you will see what kind of tool you can use with that. So that actually the marketing automation landscape wheel. So you can just Google that and you will find it, even maybe like a more up-to-date version. I think it's like a yearly update that is made for this kind of wheel, and it's super useful because, as you can see, you will find out that, okay, I need to do SEO keyword analysis. What kind of tool do I have? You will have the Google AdWords planner and keywords research. You have SEMrush. You have Moz keywords planner. So you have also you have free option. You have paid option. So you can just see, try a few, and decide which one is for you. But obviously, as I'm not sure what kind of tool each and every one of you need today or are looking for, we can discuss more during the Q&A session if there is maybe one tool in particular that most of you are really looking into. But other than that, I decided to present to you one tool a bit more in detail, and then a list of 5, if I'm correct, tools that I'm using almost daily, and that I would definitely recommend you to use as well, because it helped a lot. But the first one, so it should say growth marketing. I haven't updated that, but the first growth marketing tool is Usability Hub. So what is Usability Hub? It's actually an online remote user research platform that allow you that sometime, if you want to have a really fast a confirmation of one change design-wise, like changing a landing page, how should be your product packaging, making a quick user survey. You don't have the time to run that by yourself. You go to Usability Hub, you will create your test, and in a matter of like minutes to hours maximum, you have the result. It is really, really fast. That's the beauty of this tool. So in a matter of hours or minutes, depending on your audience. So if your target audience is purely Finnish, for example, because the market is quite small in Finland, it takes more time. It can even take few days. But if we think about the UK or the US or even any English speaker persona, it will be really fast. Their database is super big. They have lots of panelists, so it will take maybe a few minutes to hour top. So you can do 4 different type of tests. You can do first click tests. So that's more like the interaction based and UX UI, for your website or online presence. See what works the best. Should the button be bigger on the top right corner, or should it actually be a drop down instead of a click or whatever? You just do the test here. You will have your answer. You're fixed. You have the data. It's not subjective. You didn't choose it. Your designer didn't choose it. Your end user told you what was the best way to do it. Then you have design survey. So you actually decide few features and you ask direct question to selected target audience. So you put your different persona in the demographics and only them will receive it. And then they tell you, I prefer this one. I think it's this. I think it means this. And you might be surprised that sometimes it might be super clear for you, but actually the end user didn't understand it the same way at all. Then preference test. This is just checking two different alternative or 6 maximum, and then they will just decide which one is the most appealing. And then one of my favorite, it is super interesting even for yourself to try. So I would definitely recommend also in a creative thinking and monitoring manner for you to become a panelist so that you can receive the experiment of others, to join Usability Hub as a panelist yourself so that you will see what other people are trying to test, and it can give you ideas or it can like help you to understand better how to get started. And the 5-second test will show you, like, for example, a new app, a new website, a new product just for 5 seconds, and then it disappears. You cannot see it at all. And it will ask you a few questions from what you remember from this 5 seconds. And this is super interesting for all designer. And when you think about your experiment, because the first 5 seconds are the most important. When you think about it, we just scroll through the pages really fast. And if you don't get what is this page about, what is the product about in the first 5 seconds, you failed. So with that test, it's a really, really interesting survey and test to do for your new product design and so on. I would definitely recommend. So one tool for all, it's effortless validation for designer, it's amazing optimization for marketer, and it's easier decision-making for product manager because you have the data in a matter of minutes or hour that cannot lie. You know, you see the end user preferred this one, we go with this one. Here I put some example that I did, I think 2 years ago, so it's quite old, but we showed 2 different versions of a website, and we saw what product or service this website offer. What are the benefits of this product or service, and does this page seem trustworthy, and why? And as you can see, there is like quite a difference between version 1 and 2. I didn't show you the image here because it's not the point. It's an old company for which I did the survey, so I didn't want to display it. I'm not sure if they wish to display the experiment, but just to show you that between version 1 and 2, you will see that the answers are different. So then you will definitely think that the one version who has the best answer for what product or service this website offer is a number 2. 90% got which was the product or service, whereas in the first version, 70% didn't understand what the product or service was. So obviously that's a really bad layout, a really bad design, something was wrong. And it might be just about the illustration, about the copy text, or sometimes even just the placement. Maybe you should put one block higher above the fold or lower, etc. So that's really, really interesting tool. 60% increase, well, it doesn't really matter here. So let's not go into the detail, but you got the idea. And then my top, so how much is it? Yeah, my top 6 tools for myself at the moment. So the first one is Canva. Pretty sure most of you know about it, but Canva is a really easy drag and drop designer tool. It allows you to create pretty much any type of design, ebook design, cover, social media post design, advertising campaign design, animated GIF animation and illustration, banner for your email, banner for Google Display, you name it, you find it, you can do anything. You can even design CVs there like really nicely and visually. I will show you really quickly if you're not familiar with it. They have a free version that give you lots of freedom actually. The free version is really good, but it's definitely worth it. I think it's like a couple of like €5 to €10 per month and you have like everything unlimited. You can remove background quite easily, like having like transparent background of PNG image. Like even me to this date, I still use it quite a lot sometimes because I'm lazy to ask our designer, for example, hey, please send me this file with the transparent background, or like opening Photoshop and like doing it with the alpha channel and doing it properly might take like say 15 to 30 minutes. With Canva, it take you 2 clicks, 30 seconds, it's done. And you have like high quality, amazing illustration and design. Awesome. Second one, Zapier. Zapier, to define it, is a way to automate and integrate different tools together. That is an awesome tool that we use even daily at Lido, for example, with our platform ourselves. So we integrate a lead-driven marketing platform with Zapier, which means that you can connect it, for example, to any other tools that you're currently using, to your CRM, to your CMS, to your email marketing campaign manager. You can even connect it to your Facebook audience manager, anything like that. Anything you might think about. One concrete example, we get signed up for a newsletter in one contact form on a footer on our website. With Zapier, I create a Google Sheet integration that instantly put all the new lead in my Google Sheet. Then my Google Sheet gets sorted with like first name, last name, email, and like some lead scoring calculation through the Zap, and it's all instant. It happened like straight away. You can also send like thank you email after download through a chatbot. You can do pretty much anything with it. So that's really awesome way to automate and scale so that you don't sometimes lose time with like repetitive small tasks, but it can also handle big tasks. And for those of you marketers or sales professional here today that use a lot Excel or Google Sheet, I just discovered recently that they have the Zapier formatter integration. You can automatically split text to column, create calculation all in the Zap, so you don't even need to do it manually anymore. So that was a huge discovery for me. I can tell you more if needed in the Q&A, but definitely one of my favorites. Then you have Otyar. So this one, I don't know if I put it here, but it's a heat mapping tool. They have like also free version that I recommend you to install straight after on your company website or your own website to try. So what is basically a heat map? It will show you where your user put their arrows the most, where do they click the most, where do they navigate the most, and it will show you with like a hot or cold map, so colored map, red being like the place when they stay the most, click the most, or navigate, and like dark blue being like cold area when they don't go. And you can see throughout your page basically the customer journey, like where do they go, like the user experience, do they go even, do they scroll down a lot, or do they just check the first hero, do they click on this one or more on this one? So that's actually really, really useful to visualize data in a way simpler ways. And with Google Analytics, you can do almost the same with Google Analytics, but it's more complex and require a bit more knowledge rather than just seeing a heat map, which is really easy to understand. You can also record actually user interaction. So it is GDPR compliant. Don't ask me how, you can just check their website, but you can actually see exactly, for example, this user from Helsinki connected at 4 p.m. yesterday. First he went here, then he clicked on business, then he entered his email here, then he read for 2 minutes this blog post. You can see a recording of all the journeys that the user had on your website. And you can also see a funnel when you set up the correct stage, how many went to your home page, how many went to your pricing page, how many registered, and how many converted. So it gives you a really nice overall visual way to see a quick user journey and experience throughout your online presence. Definitely worth trying it. Google Optimize, free tool from Google that not that much marketer use somehow. I'm not sure why, but it's a really good one that allow you, if you have websites that you're not sure how to optimize yourself, create new pages, create new blog, you can easily drag and drop any of your website element. So let me actually demonstrate. It's not the tool because so if I go to Apple website, I have this small extension here that I can give you the name later on. But what Google Optimize will do is that it will allow you to choose, okay, I want this block to be more down, or I want to put this button here. I want to put this, sorry, always the demo is a bit different. I want to put this button here. Maybe I want to change the text here. Well, this website, Apple websites, is probably a bit a bit better than a typical website, but you can easily change anything with just a plugin and publish it straight away without any line of code, without even going to the website backend, just with Google Optimize. You need to install it, and then you will run experiments such as you will decide to put first block lower on the page for 50% of your traffic, and then the second block higher on the page for 50% of your traffic. And then you will see the change in sign up or purchase or information request according to your change. So you can A/B test any kind of visual changes through Google Optimize. It's a really awesome tool. Definitely recommend it too. Then GTM, so it's Google Tag Manager. So most of you, I think, know about GTM, at least I would assume so. But what you probably don't know is that you can integrate nowadays almost any tool through a new tag and effortlessly, without going to your code, without having the need to have a developer from your website. You can just go here, select a new tag. Is it going to be Google Ad conversion tracking? Is it going to be Google Optimize that I just mentioned? Is it going to be Crazy Egg that you want to install? Is it going to be Fox Metric? As you can see, Hotjar is here as well, as I just mentioned. LinkedIn Insight tag. You can install many different tracking code or different new tool. And with Google Tag Manager, you can also create retargeting audience, remarketing triggers, which can be super powerful in your campaign. If you want to go into detailed segment, people that clicked on this button will be retargeted with this specific campaign. So definitely encourage you to learn more about the capability of Google Tag Manager, especially in terms of integrating new tools and creating remarketing audience. And the last one, obviously, because I started my own Wix agency here, I had to mention it because for some people or company that don't want any hassle of hard-coded website or super complicated WordPress template or stuff like that, you have the possibility to create a website with zero code at all from scratch, just with drag and drop. If you know how to do a PowerPoint or a Google slide, Wix allow you to create a landing page or website just by drag and dropping element. So let me show you, for example, so that's my own company agency website, so that I used to have. So that's the website live, as it look. And when I want to edit it with the tool, that's how it look. And I'm just gonna show you something. So if I want to change this title, I just change the text. I'll double click and start typing. That's as easy as that. If I want to add a button, I just go to add, I go to button, I just add a button here, and it's gonna be predefined with my design, with my color. So I don't have anything to worry about. If I want to put the button here, it's gonna go here. If I want to put it here, I would not even recommend, but for example, you can even put your button for fun, just like that, a crazy experiment. I really don't think there is any, it doesn't make any sense, but just to tell you that most of the CMS, they actually restrain you quite a lot to like left column, right column, hard-coded HTML, CSS, but here you can do everything with just drag and drop. It's super powerful. And at least at the beginning, it can be super helpful when you have a quick campaign. You just want to make a quick landing page. You can create it on Wix or Outbounds, for example, Unbound, sorry, and that's done really easily. So I wanted to show you these tools because I use them like almost on a daily basis, all of them, and they are super, super useful. But then, as I mentioned, there is a lot of different Google Chrome extensions. So I use Google Chrome most of the time, and you can find all these different extensions that are super useful. So you have the Google Tag Assistant to troubleshoot any kind of tracking code that might be missing or not working properly. You have the Google Analytics tag that will show you straight on your page the interaction, number of clicks straight on your design. You have the Facebook Pixel helper. Again, when you start working with the Facebook Pixel, you can find pretty much any extension, and they're super helpful because instead of opening a separate tab, checking another screen, you can just click on the extension and have all the right data and tools that you need in front of you on the same view. So that's also lots of different tools, but obviously because the list can be quite long, as you can see here, that's a list of basic growth marketing. I'm going to change it now, tools. There is a lot. So it really depends what you want. Do you want to do scraping? Do you want artificial intelligence? Do you want copywriting, activation, virality? You have a tool for pretty much anything. So during the Q&A quite soon, we will talk. And if you have a special need, we'll try to check in the list, or from what I know, if we find a tool for you. But now I'm sorry, but we're probably gonna skip the workshop time because we are running out of time. We are supposed to have only 10-12 minutes left. So I will put that as a homework for you. But the homework for you would be to create an account with the tool of your choice that from one of the tools that I just presented to you, and create a draft project. So it can be create a Canva account and create your first campaign design, or create a Zapier account and create your first automation for your marketing daily operation. And you will be surprised that you can actually save so much time through that. Anything pretty much really, but start yourself with that homework as well. Next, we had how to become a growth marketer yourself. So you need, as you probably have started to see now from me, like running in all the different directions, you need to become a Swiss knife. So what do I mean by that? At least I know it worked really well in French as an expression because, well, I'm originally native from France. So that's why I put it here, but hopefully you understand what I mean by that. It basically means that you need to be a T-shaped marketer with a really broad width of knowledge and specialize with a depth of knowledge in one or two specific area. So that's why I put the metaphor with the Swiss knife, because you basically need to have really broad capability and skills, but specialize into maybe one or two that will be your core expertise. So here again, I really like how Growth Tribe define a T-shaped marketer. So why do we call it a T-shape? It's just simply because it looks like a T, right? As you can see. So on the horizontal level, we have the width of the knowledge, and you will go through front-end code, service design, wireframing, behavioral psychology, branding and storytelling, being able to manage stakeholder. There is also nowadays machine learning and AI becoming more and more important, automation, and it doesn't mean that you need to create the automation yourself, but for example, as we just saw, with Zapier, you're able to automate, even with Lido, you're able to automate quite a lot of your lead generation. There is lots of tools that can allow you to automate. Then funnel marketing, being able to understand a funnel, being able to fill it up yourself, how to use it, experimental design, conversion rate optimization, and the list is long and can go on and on and on. So it can be quite overwhelming, but what we mean by that is obviously it's not gonna happen overnight. There is quite a lot to check. But if you get started with your biggest strength is in sales, or you have been a sales manager in the past, for example, as I was myself, then you can consider sales as being one of your strong core competencies. And then you will think, maybe I'm actually quite good at social media marketing as well. So then social media marketing would be another depth of knowledge. So then you will decide, okay, sales and social media marketing is my depth of knowledge. Now, how can I actually widen my knowledge and skills? Maybe I don't know that much about coding at all. So front-end coding and the basic of HTML and CSS could be a good start for you. Then I don't even know what service design is, for example. you might think that it's definitely super important as a growth marketer. Service design is a really core competency. So start reading about service design, attend some workshop about service design, or read a book about it, etc. You have lots of way to widen your knowledge, but it does take time. So you just need to assess what are your skills right now and what are the required skills to put you to the next level. So is it going to be SEO, email marketing, prototyping, analytics, backend development, front-end development, etc. And then over time, you will start to build step by step, and you will start to widen your knowledge. So here again, I'm sorry about that. I guess I was taking too much time at the beginning, but that's good feedback. As you can see, I failed in like time management, but now I will learn for the next time for a similar workshop that I need to maybe shorten the first part and have a bit more time for towards the end. But I will send you this link because it's a really interesting survey to analyze where do you stand at the moment. So let me send you this link here on the chat. No, sorry. Here, everyone, yes. Let me send you the link to the chat, and I will encourage you as a homework again. So please put that link yourself. Put that link yourself. Sorry, can everyone hear me and see me correctly? Because I didn't saw on the chat that apparently you cannot see what I'm talking about.
We can hear it fine, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Just making sure. But yeah, so this link, it's just a survey that will assess all your existing knowledge and tell you what you need to do in order to become a growth marketer. Sorry, I just wanted to show you quickly. But as long as you have the link yourself, wait, quite hard. Okay, it doesn't want to. Whatever, as long as you have it, you will check it. It's really nice survey. It's quite long. There is more than 70 questions, so take your time, probably a bit more than 10 minutes, but it will definitely help you to assess what needs to be done for you to move forward. Okay, not sure. Sharing is paused. Okay, just a second. Seems that my screen is not being shared anymore. I will start again. Yes. Does it work now? Yeah, perfect. So how can you speed your learning curve going towards the end? So read recommended books from peers marketers that you can find online from, for example, Shane Ellis. Read online article, blog, or listen to them if you prefer, like audiobook, podcasts. Take online certification as much as you can. There is a lot of free one. Google Digital Garage, HubSpot certification have a lot around inbound methodology, conversational marketing, lots of different Google Analytics certification, definitely a must if you want to become a growth marketer so that you understand more about data literacy and so on. But then I would definitely recommend to start your own side hustle. So what I mean by that is that you need to start your side project, either by being involved in a not-for-profit community or like a study group, or taking part in lots of networking events, opening your own consultancy, opening your own freelancing, starting freelancing, having a website to try to sell some of your presentation. Because by doing this side project, this side hustle, you will learn a lot on your own. You will most likely fail in lots of stuff, but it will allow you to speed up your learning curve. So that's also one of the reasons why I decided to create Bertoli Digital 1 year ago, to really help me to experiment on my own and try new stuff that I can learn and apply in my daily basis in my full-time job as well. So they are not incompatible. You can definitely keep some side project for you. Then you can buy quality training if you can. That's definitely some of them I would recommend toward the end are really eye-opening and will put you to the next level way faster. So to speed up your learning curve. Then you can join relevant online group and communities. So for example, the Access is a really good one. I've been joining lots of their workshops. There is lots of relevant speakers. There is you can network a lot. There is a shortcut as well. There is a lot of different networking. Well, at the moment, at least they're all online, but I'm sure that the Slack communities, anything like that. So network and learn from other. But just the last one, and one of the most important, just try stuff, fail and learn from it. Don't be afraid of that. Get started. Yeah, exactly. That's that's basically what you need to do now. The last thing you can do after all of that and to speed up your learning curve is just to get started with everything, even only one thing that you've learned today. Just go forward with that. So now trying to summarize and sum up, so we still have some time hopefully for the Q&A, but homework for you. So the last point was how to make your growth checklist and get started with experimenting. Start with defining what is your value proposition, what is your business model, who is your audience, continue the persona, either with the tool that I gave to you or with your own Canva, create different segments, try to define what is your one metric that matter and stick to it at least for a while you get started with experimenting. Make sure that you have product market fit, and then go through your pirate funnel one stage after the other. And after that, start the growth process with the ideation, prioritization, testing, failing, repeat, etc. And you repeat and you repeat. So take a screenshot if you can now, and at least try to get started with this homework checklist. And if you have any question later on, feel free to reach out to me. You will see, I will put in the latest slide, again, my contact information, but I'm always happy to connect with you, to stay in touch. I always consider myself more than anything to be like a social architect, because I definitely learn the most from others, from different background, different cultures. That's where you can learn the most, because sometimes if you are only with like-minded people, you might have the same result as before. But if you start to network with someone with a totally different background, which is not having a business mindset at all, but is maybe an artist, like a painter or a choreographer, you might be really surprised that it might spark some idea and experimentation for you. So that's also one advice. How to go further? Please reflect on today's presentation on your own. Continue working on the checklist that I put before. I would recommend growthhacker.com blog, because obviously that's Sean Ellis, the founding father of the growth hacking term website and community. So definitely have a look. But train yourself, tons of online certification, ebooks, books, webinar, and there is no excuses, because there is tons of free resources as well. So it's not only about that. And the last point, start applying what you learn now. Don't wait until it's perfect. Just get started, and that's how you will basically grow yourself and your company. But thank you so much. I try to speed it up, hopefully not too long, not too much. But now we arrive towards the end of my workshop and presentation. So as I said, let's keep in touch. You can always contact me at contact@rémybertoli.com. Find me on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and check one of my websites, rémybertoli.com or Bertoli Digital, if you want to have some free resources or keep in touch with some more. But yes, that's all for me. Now I think we can have time for Q&A, if there is still people left. Let me check. Yes, thank you very much. Yes, thank you for being here. Is it possible to get a slide? Yeah, of course. I'm more than happy to share the slide with you. I will probably coordinate with Sergi so that you have all of your email addresses and so on. So, but yeah, I hope that it was interesting for you, that you learned something new, that it was not too abstract or too concrete. I try to have a bit of in between. And yeah, but any feedback is welcome. So please, if you have positive or negative feedback, I'm always open for that. That's a way to improve. So feel free to either send it here or privately to me. Everything work. But if you want to ask any special question about one of the slides, it's also now is the time, and you feel free to speak up if you want.
I would like to start. Okay, go on.
No, yeah, go ahead.
So thank you very much. It was like very interesting and very exciting, very expressive. I like it a lot, and like I get like everything. What I wanted, the question is this like the list of the basic growth marketing tools is how to get this?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
The question is how to get the list of growth marketing tools. Is this your own Google sheet or
oh, this one?
Yes.
So this one was from the Growth Tribe Crash Course certification. So I will check with them if it's okay. But I can definitely create one of my own list with some of the tools that I'm using almost every day and share it alongside with the slide. That's not a problem. And as I mentioned, you will find tons of resources with Growth Tribe Columbia Road and the Growth Hacker website. So I strongly encourage you to even reach out to them if you want more information. I mean, I know really well the Finnish Growth Tribe team, and they're really nice people. They have lots of knowledge to share about growth marketing. That's also, as you've seen, I've shared quite a lot of their material here. And by the way, so didn't want to put that too much as a highlight, but if you still see my screen, if you're interested for yourself, they told me that you will be able to get a €100 discount for one of their online certification course if you just use the more info extra invoice field and put my name in it. So if you put Rémy in one of their course, you will get a €100 discount automatically at your checkout. And for me, I took the course in 2018. So I think so, yeah. The Growth Marketing Crash Course. It was a 3-day course, and it was really interesting. I learned so much, and as you can see, still today, to date, 2 years after, I use their material, their information. So I definitely recommend it. I don't usually do lots of referral, but now that I know them personally, I use lots of their tool, so definitely recommend it. Yeah, share please the link with slide. Yeah, I will do. Then very informative. Thank you so much, Consta. Really happy that you liked it and happy that it made sense. Then there was Hans. Could you reflect a little bit more on finding the right product market fit? Well, probably it's a longer conversation. So if you want, Hans, I can check with Sergi and we can connect on LinkedIn or by email, and I'm happy to discuss that more with you in detail. But in short, for everyone also here, what I meant is that before you go towards the growth process, before you start with experimenting and testing, make sure that you have all this foundation figured out and really strong. So the value proposition, the business model, your audience, having the one metric that matters, in order to make sure that you will have the right product market fit. So making sure that actually you design the product thinking that it's targeted for sales manager. This is a product that will qualify lead automatically for them, but is it actually how the end user is going to use the tool? Is it the right product market fit? Do you have the right pricing model? Do you have the right target audience? That's what I mean by it. I mean, it's way broader than that, but it would be a long conversation. So that's why happy to open up the conversation with you if needed. Yeah, thanks a lot, Evelyn, for the feedback, and definitely happy to share the recording later on, of course. I know that the first part was a bit longer and the latter part was a bit more rushed. So of course, yes, feel free to go back to it and connect with me in any online channel if you have specific question. I'm always happy to to answer them and help you if possible. Yeah, thank you so much, Anastasia, as well, for being here. Well, really glad to hear all of this feedback. And that's also super important because to me, as I mentioned at the beginning, so actually, yeah, I didn't even come back to that, but it's really important for those of you that are still here, probably we can close on that if there is no specific question, that you get started also with your personal brand and define what do you want to do, what motivates you, and how do you show yourself. So that's why I put here who I am, what is my mission, constant learning, because it all come together into your story. And that's really important to convey your message, because the thing with growth marketing, growth hacking process, I will just show it again as the last slide. If you don't succeed in switching your team in the right mindset, it will fail. That's the sad truth. So it's really important that you are able to convey the right story and explain to them why is it important, why they need to fail fast, why they need to fail smart, what kind of tool, based everything on data, etc. Having the right team composition, because thanks to that, you will be able to have the strong foundation and go toward the process and the strategy and the higher level. But yeah, I guess we are already over time. So maybe, I don't know, what do you think, Sergi? Is there did you receive any specific question, or should we now let you reflect on what you heard today? I'm not sure. Are you still here, Sergi, or?
Yeah, I'm
okay.
Here. So the question?
Yeah, I think I haven't seen any additional question yet. What for reflection?
Yeah.
It might be quite overwhelming, all the amount of information that you got now. So yeah, I will also advise now, take a step back, try to reflect on the presentation, and maybe tomorrow or later this week, feel free to connect with me and ask any additional question you might have, and I will coordinate with Sergi to send you the material or anything extra. But thanks you once more, everyone, for joining today.
Thank you.